1973, the International Association of Fire Chiefs has provided a forum for fire and emergency service leaders to exchange ideas, develop professionally, and uncover the latest products and services available to first responders. And all this week, IAFC is bringing together the best and the brightest for Fire Rescue International. As thousands from around the globe gather here in Dallas, Texas, only IAFC TV is covering every angle. And today, we spotlight service. A core pillar of the IAFC, service is also at the heart of a firefighter's mission. Today, we introduce you to the widow of a fallen firefighter who has turned tragedy into triumph. Plus, we celebrate service today by highlighting those awarded this year for exceptional dedication to duty. And today, we take you to Colorado, where one department takes their Ready to Serve motto to a whole new level. You can find the latest episode on the TVs placed throughout the convention center, on the in-house channels at our partner hotels, and on our YouTube and X channels. We start today with the ultimate act of service. In 2022, a tragic fall would set into motion a series of heroic acts that would cement Billy Moon's legacy of service. Husband, father, firefighter. William Billy Moon was a 21-year veteran of the FDNY and constantly thinking of ways to improve the fire service and, in turn, better serve the community around him. In December of 2022, the 47-year-old was preparing for a routine training exercise when he fell 20 feet and suffered a fatal injury. As his devoted wife, Kristina, digested the heartbreaking news, she also helped Billy carry out his final heroic acts of service. Kristina knew that as an organ donor, Billy's selflessness was going to surpass death. 8 days after his fatal fall, Billy answered his last alarm. His generous gift of organ donation saving the lives of 5 others, 3 of whom his fellow firefighting brothers. And it is our absolute honor to have with us Billy's wife, Kristina Moon, who has kept his legacy alive all of these years by championing the incredible gifts that Billy left behind. Pleasure to have you with us today.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Okay, we'll talk about the foundation, of course, but I really want to talk first about Billy. Okay. Now, his firefighting buddies have described him as a big personality with a huge smile and a passion for the job. What was the Billy like that you knew?
That was him. You know, he was very passionate. He was opinionated, so if he believed in something, you knew it. But he was also really big about helping others, you know, being there for others. He believed in helping the underdog, some of his friends would even say, you know, and doing what was right. And I feel like he did the same thing for our kids. He taught them in the importance of doing what was right. You know, empathy was a big part of him.
Let's go back to December of 2022. You get the call. What happened?
I was at work. I happened to be in one of the few places in my building at the time that actually had service. My phone rang, and I didn't believe what was happening on the other line. I said, "I'm sorry, what happened?" I asked the severity. I could tell you that I was wearing a black pencil skirt, black boots, black tights, and a red sweater. I vividly remember what happened, and they were coming to pick me up. I made the arrangements, you know, for my kids and everything. And then I was told, you know, that other family members are also being brought there, and I realized that this may be at a level that I didn't realize at first. We got to the hospital. He had 2 brain surgeries in the first 24 hours, less than 24 hours, 12 hours that he was there, and intensive procedures and other interventions to try to help him over the week that he was there. He's in Kings County Hospital, which is in Brooklyn. It's a level 1 trauma center.
I would imagine as the spouse of a firefighter, your biggest concern would be when they're going into a burning building, when they are headed into flames, not when they're taking part in a training exercise.
Yeah, you know, you don't when you marry a first responder, you kind of tuck away in your head and your heart that there's these dangers of things that might happen. And I guess sometimes you don't realize the depth of what they could be. they train, it's important. It's an important part of their job. It's a big aspect of making sure they stay sharp. And he was in Rescue 2, which is a big part and an elite part of the FDNY. So staying sharp was important. But I'll never forget when I got to the hospital, the sea of firefighters already there waiting for me to walk in. Couldn't even look them all in the eye, but they were there waiting.
So you knew all along what his wishes were regarding organ donation.
Yes.
You said he had a very strong opinion about that.
He did. He called me out on it in our house. Looked at me, and I said, I would. It's not on my license, and that face of why not. And I changed it, and he did the same thing to people at work. If he believed in something, he would let you know.
And so now that decision is now your new mission in life.
It is. It kind of happened organically. I was, not long after he passed away and we had the funeral, there was an FDNY class graduating, and the fire commissioner at the time invited me to come and speak if I'd be okay to talk to the class. And I said, sure, because one thing a lot of people don't know, the FDNY is one of the largest contributors to the bone marrow bank in the country. Because one day every class they have a blood drive, a bone marrow swab, and they talk about organ donation. And now I've gone to 4 classes, and they sign up to be an organ donor if they're not, if they choose to. And it's one of my favorite things to do, because when I went, I just telling them what happened and how important it is to talk to your loved ones and have hard conversations. More conversations came from it, and more opportunities to share a story started happening, and I realized this is an important topic that nobody really talks about.
Mm-hmm. Each time you go to that class and you get a new person to sign up to be an organ donor, do you kind of think like, this is for you?
Yeah, I do. It's really exciting. When I get the numbers like, 50 people signed up, it's like, oh my God, that's a lot.
Yeah.
There's 350 of them signed up, and a bunch already said they were donors. To me, that means they're listening.
Yeah. So you've launched the Billy Moon Foundation. What exactly does the foundation do?
So we say our biggest thing is providing support, advocacy, and awareness for organ donation. And a big part of that is advocating and going around talking all over the country. This is my 5th state that I've been in the past 18 months.
Okay.
And the next step is really supporting organ, and recipient families, and we just were able to start launching that last week and provide some gift cards to organ donors and their families and recipient families who needed it because of transportation, lodging, or food. People need to access to those things while they're waiting for an organ or while they're waiting for their loved one to donate an organ.
And the support is not there.
It's there in small pieces depending where you are.
Okay.
You need access to a transplant hospital. Sometimes you need to stay for long periods of time. So if you need to be in a hospital for extended stay and you're in New York City, a hotel room in New York City is very expensive.
Yeah.
So we're working on talking to hotel chains and finding out all these opportunities which we could at least lessen such difficult times for them.
We saw in the piece some of the recipients of Billy's organs.
Yes.
What was it like getting to hear your husband's heart beating again, but inside another man?
There's no words to describe it. My 10-year-old really had the guts to say what I could, and it was like laying next to Dad and just hearing his heartbeat all over again. And that really is what it is. That's what you hear.
Yeah.
And when you sit there and you listen, and I learned that you can't receive a heart from someone unless they're of a similar stature to you. So now all of a sudden this man comes out that's the same size as my husband, and then I'm listening to the heartbeat. Yeah. It's all sorts of emotions and feels and words that I usually I don't have to describe it because it's that immense.
Right. And some of his organs also went to fellow firefighters.
They did.
Isn't that wild?
It just happened to work out that way. Their names came across as like, these people might need help, and it was like, yes, see if they work, and they were perfect matches.
I want you to finish the sentence. When people think of Billy Moon, I want them to think what?
Besides his legacy, I want them to think of Dad. He was a great dad. He was, it was the happiest moments, and my son said it best. My son's got good words. He said it best that he gave a eulogy. Both my kids gave eulogies, and Dad loved being a firefighter, but his favorite job was being Dad. And he did. He coached hockey. He helped my daughter with soccer, and he was my best friend. We had a very good relationship, and I think knowing what he wanted in life shows the type of relationship that we had. So it was a happy home.
Well, where can people go to find more information about the Billy Moon Foundation?
They can go to billymoonfoundation.org, and they can follow us on Instagram and Facebook, and help us spread the message.
Well, thank you for your time today for everything that you're doing to keep Billy's legacy alive.
I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with me and inviting me.
Absolutely. Thank you. And now to Billy's beloved department. The FDNY is coming up on its 160th anniversary. They continue to lead from the front, adapt to new technologies, launch fresh safety campaigns, and update operations and tactics to protect both their 17,000 employees and the residents and visitors of the Big Apple.
Altogether, the New York City Fire Department has about 17,000 employees. Since 1865, since we were established as a paid department, the mission has changed over the years, but essentially it is protecting life and property throughout New York City. When people need help in New York City and they call the fire department, we go there to help. And sometimes it's a fire, sometimes it's a medical emergency, and everything in between. One of our overarching goals is to protect our people. And a couple of programs we have going on in 2024 include our cancer reduction efforts aimed at our firefighters, cleaning their gear, ensuring longer, more consistent use of the SCBA. We are also expanding our drone and robotics program that gives the incident commanders great information at the scene of an emergency, at a fire. And then we are also continuing and seeing great results with the lithium-ion battery enforcement and awareness program that we have, that we've seen the reduction in deaths and injuries from those fires.
Since 1996, the esteemed Fire Chief of the Year award has recognized one volunteer and one career fire chief for their leadership, innovation, professional development, integrity, public service, and contributions to the fire service. IAFC TV is thrilled to highlight this year's recipients, Chief Reed Vaughn and Chief Randy Royal.
So I actually got involved in emergency response on the side when I was in college as a EMT and then a paramedic just after college, working on private ambulance. And I did that for a few years and then joined the fire service 37 years ago.
My father was police chief and fire chief. Our phone number, our home phone number, was listed on public buildings. So my mother and I were at a very early age. I was taking notes while she was getting him ready to go out the door. It was in the blood from the very beginning.
A couple of the key highlights, Castle West Fire, which was in 2007, was a large apartment fire that we actually, our job did 85 ladder rescues of, which is unheard of. That joint effort through all of our trucks and our engines and all the people on there saved lots of lives, and to be a part of that was huge. And then we've had a couple of large wildland fires, very difficult, but again, we lost a few hundred homes, we saved a couple thousand homes, and again, being part of those efforts, just they were hard, but they were good at the same time.
If you were to look up Sumter County, Alabama, and look it up in the poorest index, you'd see that our county is in the top 10 in the country. That's been not only the biggest challenge for the volunteer service, is how do we address and provide the same level of protection that you would somewhere else that has many more resources. As manpower models have changed in the volunteer ranks, we've transitioned from single departments handling an emergency to automatic aid in the battalion system. If we can do that there, it can be done anywhere.
Serving others and the challenges that are involved, whether it's a fire or a medical, there's things we have to solve and figure out, and the service of doing that and seeing a good job done and the results of that is always rewarding.
Unlike my big city brothers and sisters, when we go out the door, 9 times out of 10, we know who we're going to. We know the address, we know the complaint, we know the issue. And that's a blessing and a curse, because oftentimes you're there when people take their last breath. Sometimes you're there just to hold a hand. We had gotten to the point where we literally were delivering groceries, which calmed some of the 911 calls that were coming in. We would take a trip to a particular address and take care of this elderly lady so that she knew somebody was thinking about her.
I use a term that I actually learned through the military, and it's called mission first, people always. And we try to really instill that through our whole organization, and that both are important. That the mission, we got to be very good at our mission, we got to be masters of our craft, we got to learn, we got to be innovative. But at the same time, we've got to take care of our people. We got to give them the tools and the resources they need, we got to support them, and they have to feel valued and that they're part of our service and organization.
It's not just emergency services. We're the people they call for everything that doesn't require a gun. That's us. Our shoulder patch has the Star of Life, the Jaws of Life, a fire and tornado. We provide severe weather coverage because there's no TV station that provides street-by-street information to our residents. They tune into our radio system and listen to us live. It's always about somebody else. It should never be about you. It is amazing that we're able to have the things we have, we're able to do the things we do, and that we're called to serve in the way we're called to serve. Every day you get up and you're able to go help somebody's a good day.
The thing that I always say to them is be passionate about it, even while you're going through the process to get the job. And then once you get in the fire service, maintain that passion, have a thirst for learning and learn from every incident that you go on, and take opportunities like this to go to conferences and learn as much as you can, because all that does is turn around and provide better service to your community.
If they'd have told me 25 years ago I'd have been doing what I'm doing today, I'd have called them a liar. There's no way they'll pay me to do what I do every day. And instead, I feel like a kid in a candy store every day that I get to go to work and serve the people of Alabama.
I'm just truly honored to receive this award. It means a lot. I'm actually, at the tail end of my career, and it's very special. I did tell the people that nominated me once I found out they did, because I didn't know that they were very evil and sneaky. But I appreciate it.
Amazing to be honored by my peers. Standing there when they announced it at dinner last night, there's hundreds of people flowing through my mind that deserve it more than I do. I'm just blessed to be here.
And now to the most prestigious award presented by the IAFC, the Ben Franklin Award for Valor. We are honored to introduce you to this year's recipient, Medford Fire Department firefighter Manny Sharp.
So my wife and I were having a cup of coffee in the back porch, and I was playing with my little daughter, and she happened to look up and saw some smoke coming up, and she asked me, "What's that from?" I looked up and I saw a nice big old brown column coming up, and I was like, "That's a structure fire. Call 911, I'll be right back." So I ran out, jumped on my truck, drove to the house. About that time, the neighbor across the street came, and he was starting to yell, "There's kids that live there." I honestly didn't have much to think about other than I gotta make sure those kids weren't in there. So once I kicked the door in, I noticed that the smoke was down towards my waist level. So I crouched down and looked, and I was surprised to see a little girl laying there. And then right next to her, there was another little boy there. So then I was frantically yelling at them, "Let's go, the house is on fire, let's go." And they were just kind of shocked, like, what's going on? So then I ripped the blanket off of them, I grabbed them by their ankles and pulled them towards me. And then they stood up with me, and I guided them out of the house, took them across the street where they would be safe. And I asked them if anyone else was inside. They said no. And then the parents came by really fast, and the mom jumped out of the car, and she started running towards the house, yelling, "My kids, my kids." I yelled at her and I said, "I have them." She looked and she said, "There's one more." So I said, "Okay, go back with your kids. I'm gonna go look for him." So I went back in, and by this point, the smoke had come all the way down to the floor. So as I was trying to make my way down the hallway, it was really hard to see. It was getting hot, and I figured that the best strategy for me to do this would be VIS. I could also hear the dad pounding on the window from the outside. So I went outside. I found the kid, and then he was reluctant to come out. So I calmly explained to him, "Let's go." And he said, "Well, I don't want to come out." And then I said, "Let's go, your house is on fire." He agreed initially, and then I could tell he was changing his mind, so I grabbed him by the arm and just guided him out the window. Once I made sure that they were in a safe area, I started clearing the road because I knew that fire engines were coming. I could hear them at this point. So then once they showed up, I helped them get a hydrant and establish the water supply, shagged some hose for them, and once I saw that my local fire department had it handled, I went home. I was wearing shorts, flip-flops, and a t-shirt. After I talked to a couple of the guys, they were like, you know, you could have died, and I was like, I guess. The first day I went back to work, they gave me Heroes Welcome, and they had made a big poster of me and had signatures, and they were just all proud of me, and they made t-shirts that said Manny would go. They all just wore them proudly. It has solidified in me that anytime anybody says no one is inside, don't go by that until you confirm it physically. Aim for excellence, because you never know who is going to be depending on you, whether you're on or off duty. I'm surrounded by heroes on a daily basis. For them to acknowledge me this way, it's a huge blessing and humbling.
Much more than a slogan, Ready to Serve calls upon each member of the Eagle River Fire Protection District to anticipate, prepare, and fulfill their role in protecting the communities served by the fire district.
The Eagle River Fire Protection District was formed as a fire protection district in 2000. Prior to that, it existed really as a conglomerate of a variety of metro districts that were sharing resources to provide fire protection in the area.
Some of the technical programs here at Eagle River Fire include rope rescue, swiftwater rescue, ice rescue, confined space rescue, structural collapse and trench rescue, automotive extrication, and hazardous materials response.
It's been a great journey at Eagle River Fire, and I think it's one where we are constantly training and looking for the future and making changes and adjustments based on new technology or new ideas that come out in the field. And so I feel really privileged to be able to grow up in the fire service with Eagle River Fire.
Keeping it in Colorado still, the Frederick Firestone Protection District believes that by enhancing the quality of life for members, they empower them to deliver exceptional service to their community and state.
The Frederick Firestone Fire District is just north of Denver, Colorado. We've become a central hub between Fort Collins, Boulder, and Denver, and so the industrial, the commercial, and residential growth is exponential. What brought our organization to bringing on a behavioral mindset specialist that was embedded actually with our firefighters? What we wanted to see was, if we could save a career, if we could save a marriage, if we could prevent a suicide, we pour into our people so they can pour back into the community.
Being embedded with the firefighters and the paramedics, I believe creates a different change and different positive effect to a program like this, because they want to know you and care about you and believe in who you are and what you stand for. So the embedded factor helps them understand that I'm a human that simply loves them and cares about them.
But we're definitely going to challenge the standards of tomorrow and move forward of taking the organization as we're going to set people up as change agents for our organization in the future for the emergency services industry.
To be united in service, we must prioritize allyship and active bystandership. But what does that mean? And more importantly, what does that look like in action? Amy Hannan is here in studio to explain. Pleasure to have you today.
Of course, thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. All right, let's get started with what exactly is allyship, what is active bystandership?
Of course. Allyship is the act of supporting or advocating for somebody who may be underrepresented, discriminated against, or oppressed. And active bystandership is essentially the act of speaking up or doing something, see something, say something.
Okay.
Action.
And can you kind of explain some of the situations where maybe somebody may need to step in and be an ally or be that active bystander?
Of course. Yeah, unfortunately there can be many situations. So certainly if someone's being talked down to, being left out, being mistreated, as harsh as discrimination or harassment, there can be a variety of different situations, and it goes anywhere from kind of microaggressions on up to pretty extreme situations.
And, you know, people may have the best intentions and think that they're doing a good job of being an ally or an active bystander, but there are some barriers to that.
There can
What
be.
are those?
Yeah, there really can be. So it can come down to organizational culture. People can be concerned about retaliation, or maybe just work in an atmosphere where they don't feel like they're safe in being able to speak up. It really just comes down to leadership holding a culture that allows for people to feel comfortable in saying something or taking action.
So really a top-down
Exactly. Really
environment.
is. Yes.
Do you think that there is still significant room for improvement when it comes to creating a culture of inclusivity when we're talking about the firefighting community?
I do. I really do. In general, there's space for that in the world,
Right.
And the fire service really is no different. So it takes a lot of work, and again, it just comes back to fostering an inclusive atmosphere where you hold accountability and where you really encourage people to be brave enough to step up and do something and take action when they see mistreatment of others.
And so when it comes to enhancing departments and maybe making this a priority and seeing some progress, you use some research-based tools to do so.
We do.
Can you elaborate on those?
Yeah, so Women in Fire and NDRI came together, and we came up with basically a series of different courses that are research and data-based to help professional development of fire service leaders. With this course specifically, we're looking at data of the impacts of harassment and discrimination, the impacts of when someone doesn't speak up or doesn't take action, and also we're arming people with tools that have been proven to make a difference in these types of situations. So it could be something like distracting the situation, or it could just be a direct accountability. We've got 5 different tools that we'll talk through during the course.
All right, looking forward to that session.
Excellent.
Thank you for your time today.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
We turn to California now. The Southern Marin Fire Protection District is an organization serving a diverse and vibrant community. Let's check out how they strive to be a positive influence and beacon of excellence in the field.
The mission of the Southern Marin Fire Protection District is to contribute to this region's reputation and value of being a safe, friendly, and economically thriving region. Ten years ago, the Southern Marin Fire Protection District was facing many challenges: financial, aging equipment, the threats from wildfire, and we were talking about a consolidation. What we were missing was a unified vision that we could build work plans around, and ultimately 10 years later we find ourselves a transformed organization because of that unified vision. Over the next 10 years, the Southern Marin Fire Protection District will undoubtedly face a variety of challenges and opportunities. My hope and vision is that we continue to position ourselves to be successful in navigating these ebbs and flows, and ultimately continue to provide exceptional service to our communities.
To the Santa Clara County Fire Department now, where they provide comprehensive fire services to 7 cities and towns in Santa Clara County. Both contract cities and those incorporated into the district benefit from the resources and all hazard capabilities of County Fire.
The Santa Clara County Fire Department's mission is all hazards, all risk. That means within the response service area that encompasses 7 cities and towns, we respond to anything that needs to be mitigated in partnership with our law enforcement officers or our EMS partners.
Santa Clara County Fire Department covers about 132 square miles. We serve over 225,000 residents. The all-risk piece for us is we do everything from EMS, high-rise, rescue, fires. Wildland-urban interface is a big part of our agency. We have to be ready for anything that comes at us within the jurisdiction or outside the jurisdiction.
What separates Santa Clara County Fire Department from other fire departments is really our complexity. County Fire prides itself on our ability to lead not just on the battlefields, but also in terms of strategic planning and through the county as a whole.
You can find the latest episode on the TVs placed throughout the convention center, on the in-house channels at our partner hotels, and on our YouTube and X channels. We have our third day of IAFC TV still to come tomorrow, where we are examining all the ways that the IAFC is taking education to the next level. We'll see you right back here tomorrow. But until then, go have a great one.